Okay, good morning. This is Debbie Davis. It is August 15th, Friday, August 15th. And, there's a lot of things going on, but I wanted to read something to clarify some things about the Abrahamic Accords and some of those things because, I was listening to Andrew Womack, and he kind of clarifies it. I mean, yes, it does say that because of Abraham's righteousness, the nations will be blessed, and through him you'll be blessed. Okay, but it does say that it requires faith. So it's in Galatians 3:6-12 here. And it just kind of clarifies, so consider Abraham, he believed in God, and it was credited to him as righteousness. Understand then, those who believe are children of Abraham. The scriptures foresaw that God would justify the Gentiles by faith and announce the gospel in advance to Abraham. All nations will be blessed through you, so those who have faith are blessed along with Abraham, the man of faith. Okay, so even if you're not in the bloodline, you can still, when you become a Christian, be blessed. That's what he's saying. But I think it also, depends on the people that are in the bloodline. They still have to have faith in the real God. The real God. So I think this is what it's saying here. I mean, and then it says, all who rely on observing the law are under a curse. For it is written, cursed is everyone who does not continue to do everything written in the book of the law, because clearly there's no one who's justified before God by the law, because the righteous will live by faith. You were never meant to live by the law. That's why Jesus came and died for our sins, so we would be able to live by faith instead of by all the laws that these churches have tried to imply on you, because it's impossible to live that way. And they know it is. In fact, you'll be cursed if you try to live that way, is what this says. Okay, the righteous will live by faith, and the law is not based on faith. On the contrary, the man who does these things will live by them. Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us on the cross. Okay, cursed is everyone who is hung on a tree. He redeemed us in order that the blessing given to Abraham might come to the Gentiles through Jesus Christ, so that by faith we might receive the promise of the Spirit. Okay, so I think that kind of clarifies. You still have to believe it, that Jesus Christ became the curse for you. And then you don't have to go by all the laws that we have been told to go by. Because it's impossible to follow the laws that the churches have tried to imply on us through these different types of religions. So I think that's really important. Andrew Womack pointed that out when I was listening to him on TBN. And it's important to point out. I mean, it's not like we're encouraging people to be, Muslim terrorists. Of course, I've talked about that personally. With issues right in Minnesota, where we know that Tim Walz and Omar have taken the Minnesota surplus and funded the terrorist groups or this Muslim Brotherhood, and of course I condemn that. Of course I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I'm trying to clarify some things that are said in the Bible, but clearly I'm not condoning Muslim terrorism. I'm simply stating what it says, that in the Bible, that those who are in his bloodline will be blessed because he was righteous with God. He was a righteous man. So through him, you can still be blessed. But it's not like we're condoning terrorist attacks or Muslims to be, it's of course, because that's it's like then then they're trying to, so I have to clarify that, because then it would maybe they'll try to twist it and imply that I'm trying to trying to encourage Muslim terrorist activity. Of course that's not what I'm saying. I'm just clarifying what it already says about the children of Abraham. Okay, but anyway, so I have we have some serious things, and we have for years, with the police here and the sheriffs, and they're following they're taking orders from the corporation instead of from abiding the Constitution. Okay, and for years, me as a targeted person, they've been abusing that one law, where it started under the Patriot Act of 9/11, where because they got issued this technology where they could track you by your phone, by GPS, and that started under the Patriot Act right after 9/11, and they implemented all this surveillance of us. And this is how the Nazis tried to do the same type of thing. I was just watching a show last night about how they tried this type of city, like a smart city, in Chile years ago, like way back in, I forgot what year it was, but at first it was a nice city, and then they realized they were all under surveillance, and then it was more like a prison than it was a nice city, because they're trying to they've been slowly trying to implement a surveillance state. Okay, and the GPS tracking is part of it. So they apparently, have these abilities to track you with your GPS on your phone. I use my GPS all the time, Google Maps, of course, we all have gotten so used to that, and they can track you by that. And it started after the 9/11, the Patriot Act, when they tried to say that they could now have these privileges to surveil people because they were looking for terrorists. So you never knew if your phone was going to be tapped. All of a sudden, the police started having all these privileges to surveil us by our phones, Stingray, and the GPS, the Stingray, different things like that, and they've abused it. They've abused these privileges terribly. They've used GPS tracking to just target a woman they want to date, track her down, find her address. I mean, there's stories, believe me, like this. They've abused it with me. I'm an innocent whistleblower. I'm an innocent veteran. I mean, they've massively abused it with me. I mean, like I said, I have over 100 videos of them illegally tracking me, and it just happened again. It's still happening. And until we get that removed from them, they will continue to abuse it. It's a very serious issue. It's that they're using that GPS tracking through our phones to illegally track us still, and it was never meant to be used to track innocent whistleblowers, veterans, and just women that you want to date. It was originally supposed to be for terrorists, and they didn't even use it for that. I mean, Phil Haney, the whistleblower that used to work for Homeland Security, is the one who blew that whistle. He said he was tracking all these terrorist groups working for Homeland Security, and he brought it to the attention of the supervisor, and he could have prevented something that happened in California, some massive terrorist shooting. I forgot what area of California, San Bernardino, I think, if I remember. But he said he could have prevented that. He was tracking that terrorist group here, and he had brought it to the attention of his supervisors, and they didn't listen. And so it's like, what are we even doing here? Isn't this what Homeland we're supposed to be doing? So yeah, he blew that whistle, and he lost his life over it. I don't believe he was found with a gunshot to his chest in Texas. And that's, of course, where I've had a lot of problems, is Texas too, when I was there. But so I feel like that has to be that's a massive issue that we have to address, is this GPS. How are they using these GPS to track us and to illegally track us, without a warrant? Because unless you got a corrupt judge that signed a warrant, where there's a lot of corrupt judges that will sign a warrant, so they have to be addressed too. That has to be, the judges apparently sign off on the warrants if they do have a warrant, but the judges are just as corrupt, so it goes all the way up to the judges. It's not just the police. So some of the judges will sign off on fake warrants, and that's what happened to Trump. His first term, he didn't, apparently he had warrants or some kind of things to surveil him that were issued by the FISA court, which is a fake court within a secret chamber. If you watch the Snowden movie, he talks about the FISA court. It's literally like a secret court in a secret chamber, and they put warrants on you and that's how I think I got put on a targeted individual program too. I think it was a secret court in a secret chamber that somehow put my name in this program with the CIA. Okay, so anyway, but it has gotten better. There are, the targeting has gotten a little bit better, but the issue that I have here recently is they're always trying to take my money away. I mean, you can't imagine like how devastating this has been for me financially, because I haven't been able to get another government job since I became a whistleblower 13 years ago. And then even when I do try to get thankfully I have some self-employed income, but then they've gone after that too. And I'll tell you how they've gone after that. But then when I have gotten other work, I have manufacturing experience, warehouse experience, different things like that. They target me at these jobs. So it's always like a financial issue. They target your finances. It doesn't stop. It didn't stop with them just pushing me illegally out of the military. It's continued to my civilian life, my personal life, and it's still happening every single day. It has gotten a little bit better, but and then the thing they do to you self-employed, and it's happening to a lot of other small business owners, is they are allowing the merchant companies to fraud us. The banks are on the side of the merchant companies. So I've gone through multiple different merchant companies, and now I'm just my website is just shut down at the moment. Miracule. I own a company called Miracule.com, Miracule.com. I've had so much fraud that I'm afraid to even sell at this point. And my friend Andrew, we just did the show together in Los Angeles, and he owns a company called Hydrogen Garage, and we share a booth there. And we had some people, some nasty, I've had these CIA people tracking me for years. So him and I went to, I'll tell you what happened when we were there, and then I'll tell you what happened after. This is how and we're both self-employed. So, here we are, we can't, we haven't been able to get regular jobs. Well, I haven't been able to get a regular job in years because they've targeted that. And then I'm just trying to make legitimate money on self-employment. And so him and I, we were at we had the booths the whole weekend. We were there most of the time, but then, a couple times we left and went and saw some speakers, because there's also like the whole weekend they have speakers come in. And so we left the booth. We didn't think anything of it. We were just gone for like an hour. And there was literally these women that we know now were CIA people, plants. They were sitting at our booth like as if they were running our booth. So there's these two women literally sitting in our chairs when we got back. And we were just like kind of baffled, and we're like, should we say something? Just like, excuse me? Can we have, they were women that had come earlier to try to talk to him about his hydrogen water and things like that. So then, he tried to be nice to them. Well, right after that, they apparently had put something in his water, in the hydrogen water, the samples that he had. And because he drinks his own water, and then he got super sick that night. Okay, so that's one thing we had happen. That's another way they've targeted us. I literally saw his face get all flush, and then he had to go to the room and throw up, and he was sick like the whole rest of the day. Okay, that's one thing that happened. And then now the other thing that's happened, and they've done this to me for years, and now it just happened to him, is that so he had somebody that purchased like just thousands, like $5,000 or $8,000 worth of their hydrogen kits for the vehicles. Okay, they'll help you save on your gasoline. Okay, so you can. I have one on the Volvo that I put in my car, and it does work. And it's called a Volvo. He sells it on his website, but he's shut down at the moment as well because he's had all this fraud happen. So somebody purchased a bunch of items, and and then he ordered a bunch of the parts to make them, and already sold some of them off, I think. And this guy was from a different country. He said it's completely legal here to sell these hydrogen, because it's not legal in all countries to sell the hydrogen thing. And there's a lot of truckers that use his devices. There's like I said, I have one on mine. I think it works somehow with the carburetor, and it helps you get better gasoline, like 25% more. And but it's not legal in every country. So he thought this was a legitimate person, and it turned out that he was just he was frauding him. And so I told him, I said, did you check with Authorize.net? Because so this guy did a chargeback of like $6,000 or whatever it was. And so he, this is what I don't understand, is that these merchant companies are supposed to offer fraud protection, and so you actually pay for it in part of your monthly bills. Like Authorize.net, I asked him to try to deal with Authorize.net on this, and so he I don't know what happened there, but so basically he's out like $6,000 right now, and what's happening is the banks are in cahoots with the merchant companies, and they don't, he told his side of the story, and of course, and they're supposed to be the ones that detect the fraud. If it's a illegitimate customer, or you got to have a reason to do a chargeback. You can't just do a chargeback for no reason. But these merchant companies and these banks are allowing the merchant companies and the banks to fraud us, the small business owners. Okay, and I noticed this is happening. I saw like literally like 100 different complaints on Etsy, and so Etsy is like you can sell your real small businesses, like arts and crafts type businesses. I mean, literally I saw like 20 complaints that the same exact thing is happening, where the person received the thing, and I'm sure they sent the exact thing they were supposed to send, but then the person just does a chargeback, and Etsy allows it and takes the customer side instead of the small business person's side. So literally like thousands upon thousands of people in America are going broke with this fraud that's going on. It's happening with the merchant companies and the banks. Chase Bank is part of it. The bigger banks, of course. So my friend is out like $6,000. So it's like, okay, first of all, I can't even, haven't been able to get a government job in years. Then try other jobs. They always just find ways to let me go for no reason, like what happened with Wagner. There wasn't a legitimate reason. It was 100% illegal what they did. But until this targeting program ends and is found 100% a criminal and illegal, and these people being held accountable at the highest levels, they'll continue getting away with this. Apparently a lot of corporations, bigger businesses, apparently they're in cahoots with a lot of the intelligence agencies, which I just found out recently. So they kind of, have to appease them apparently as well to stay in business. Okay, so where does that leave us? Just the totally innocent totally innocent whistleblowers and veterans and like Andrew, he's just trying to make a buck for his family. He's out $6,000 now. I mean, so, obviously there's a problem here. So what I have happening recently is that I just had signed up for some training at LA Fitness, and it was supposed to just be 1 month special is what I understood. It was like $142 just for a month, and it was just for a certain amount of training. Well, apparently, unbeknownst to me, it was some kind of a contract. So as soon as I found out it was a contract, and that it would be another monthly charge, and I said no, I just wanted to do the few trainings. This was like I couldn't even really afford this. This was just something, it was supposed to be like a special they were running in. And so I paid the fee to cancel the contract, and it says, that they were supposed to not charge my card again. Obviously, after you pay the cancellation fee, they're not supposed to charge your card again. And they continued to charge my card. Okay, so, this is the issue that I'm having now. This is LA Fitness. So I'm trying to deal with this issue today. So try to get a hold of the. Yes, is David the vice president in? David? Yes.
No, it's just me and Brian right now.
Okay, when is David gonna be in?
Not really sure. I don't know David's schedule.
Okay, because Brian is the one who told me to call corporate, and a corporate didn't do anything to help me, and I've already talked to my trainer about this. This is Debbie Davis. Yeah, we've already discussed this. I already tried corporate, and they were worthless. They didn't help me. I have the contract right here that says that you have within 10 days to refund me. Otherwise, you're in violation of the contract. It says right here that I just have to contact the club or the or send in the cancellation either by mail or in person, which I did it in person, and I canceled it. I paid the cancellation fee, and it clearly says right in your own contract that you have 10 days to return the remaining balance. So, and you haven't returned the balance.
Yeah, I'll just let you know when David's here.
Okay, so you're in total violation of your own contract, and I'm recording this. So I'm
not the desk.
Okay, but Sam has been trying to address this with Brian. Brian is not helping. We tried to address it with David, who's the vice president. I mean, do you not know how to read your own contracts? Because I'm just, Sam and I read it together. It's like clearly they're violating their own contracts, and he's like, yeah, I can see that. But he's the trainer, so you're making him look bad. So, I would like to leave my number for David, the vice president. I'm not going to work with Brian. Brian is as rude as rude gets. Okay? Totally unprofessional. Okay? My number is 651-767-2892. My name is Debbie Davis. Yeah, I've been trying to work with Sam, and it's not his fault because he's not corporate. He was just the trainer, and we did what we were supposed to do and paid the cancellation fee, and they continued taking the money out. It's a corporate matter or a vice president matter. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let Dave know.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, but it's like, you can't, nobody wants to do the right thing and just do the right thing unless you hold them accountable. And, of course, and they try to call me, oh, I'm a Karen or this or that. It's a little bit beyond just being a Karen. A Karen is these people, that just tells you, how dumb they are and how, small-minded they are. My issue is, the issue that I'm talking about, this targeted individual program, is literally ruining thousands and thousands of people's lives a day and killing people. It's killed over 30,000 veterans because they put all these veterans on a targeted individual program. Okay, and I've talked about this. So this isn't just some kind of minor Karen story. This program has murdered 30,000 veterans. And that this is why I'm, this is why it's a little bit has to be taken, way more serious than what it has. And these police have to realize that they're in they're in big trouble for following these orders of these corporations. You don't have a legal warrant, and if you have a judge that signed off on it, well, then that judge is in trouble too. You think I don't know how the whole thing works? And a corrupt judge signs off on an illegal warrant, well, then you're both in trouble. Okay? So, anyway.